um, to speak with one of my favorite filmmakers, and I'm sure one of yours if you're here for this massive double bill. The writer, director, and producer of Dune 1 and Dune 2. Make some noise for Denis Villeneuve.
Thank you. I just want to say right at first, thank you very much for taking some time on a Sunday afternoon to be here. It means the world to me. Thank you.
Anytime, anytime. So,
and if I need to say, I apologize. Thank you so much, guys, to be here today in a theater for watching both movies back to back in IMAX. That means the world to me. That's the way the movie were intended to be seen. So, thank you.
Some words for yourself. So, Denis, I just met your wife, who's the producer of this film as well. And the question that was just raging through my mind as I met her and I looked at her incredibly calm face was this a nightmarishly difficult film to make? And the reason why I asked that is it was such a dream to watch, but you've woven together such rich themes of culture, politics, power. You've got this ensemble cast playing out an intricate psychological drama. And yet it is also, although we'll talk about this later, technically a sci-fi spectacle. You're filming in the desert, there's giant exploding objects of various kinds. Was this an incredibly difficult film to make? Or was it as fun to make as it was to watch?
It's a good question, thanks. The truth is a little bit everything. I mean, it's by far, it has been by far the most challenging filmic adventure of my life to make those two movies. We did those movies back to back. There was no break in between. We went from finishing part one, doing the campaign, award seasons, and I remember the next morning of the Oscars, Jane Campion telling me, I'm going in this Zen retreat. I will meditate for a month to recover from this. And I was going to, taking my crew to Budapest to start prep. And I was feeling miserable, meaning that we started this movie a bit all exhausted. And the second one, why I'm saying this? I'm saying this to say that it has been challenging, difficult, but tremendous amount of fun, of course. That's been the joy of my life to make those two movies. That's the truth.
Beautiful. When you give us something incredible to hold on to for years and years to come, I don't hesitate to say I think these are modern classics that we're enjoying this afternoon. So obviously you knew going into this that it's going to be a challenge. It's going to be, you're going to have a lot on, to put it lightly, to get these films made. I want to talk to you a little bit about why you wanted to make Dune 1 and Dune 2. Many people have called this unadaptable, in terms of the original source material, the book. What drove you to want to make this, and how long have you wanted to make this? Is this a dream that's realizing itself after a decades-long childhood wish, or was this something that kind of landed in your lap? I know many of us will know the story behind it, but could you share a little bit about?
Yeah, absolutely. I read the books. When I was a kid, I was into literature. I wanted to. It was my way to deal with reality was through books, science fiction books more specifically. And I found Dune by coincidence in the bookstore. I remember still today finding the book on the bookshelf and being attracted by the title Dune and the description behind about the journey of that young man. And I became obsessed with the book. The book was what I loved about it was the way to explore the idea of a young man finding, consolidating his identity, finding finally home in another culture. The idea that instead of fear, it was an act of being open to the other and finding himself into the other. And that I thought was beautiful, and also the way Frank Herbert constructed a new world, a a new ecosystem. At the time, I was obsessed with also with biology. It's a science that I absolutely adore, and the way he built all this world with all its inner logic. When you read the book, it's so sophisticated. There's so much details, and also I was moved by the exploration of the danger of blending politics and religion together. It's something that really talked to me at the time, and it's a book that every time I open the book through the years, I always feel the same pure joy, and it's deeply inspiring. And as the year went by, I thought that it would, yes, it would make a fantastic film. I remember dreaming with my best friend at the time. We didn't have a camera, of course, but we were. I was writing storyboards, doing storyboards with him, and we were dreaming about Dune. And then Lynch made a movie. I was very excited when I learned, and when I saw Sting for the first time in this suit, and not the jockstrap, but but there was something very, very exciting about the idea that Lynch would have. And when I saw the movie, I was half satisfied, half. There was something. It was a take on the book that was very different from what I had in mind. And with all respect to the master, I felt that it was different. And through the years, I said to myself, one day, somebody will do it again. I was sure that will happen, that someday there will be a different adaptation, something closer to the spirit of the book. And I became, it's always stayed in the back of my mind. Sorry, the answer is very long. When I started to work in Los Angeles, people were asking me, if ever will you have one dream, what would it be? If you had one, what would, they were trying to test me to see what, and it's always like, it was always the same answer in my mind. I would love to do Dune, to bring to the screen the images that I have in mind. That would be one of my biggest dreams. And through the years, of course, it's not something I could have done in my early years. It required too much knowledge about VFX and about, I didn't felt ready to do it, but there's a moment in my career where I said, okay, I feel that I have the muscles to try to approach this project. And I learned that Mary Parent at Legendary had got the rights. And we had a very, it was by far the shortest meeting of my life. We met with Mary. She wanted to work with me. I wanted to work with her. We agreed very quickly, a few minutes I'm talking about. And that was the birth of the project. I remember getting out of Legendary and calling my wife Tanya and said, I think I'm gonna go in the desert.
I love that answer. You can really tell, I mean, that you have such love for this material, just the attention to detail. There isn't a line, there isn't a frame, there isn't a moment, there isn't a set piece that hasn't just been carved with such intricacy and precision. It's really a wonder to behold. I want to talk a little bit about Sting's jockstrap versus Chalamet's exoskeleton, if you will. And that is the subheading of this Q&A. I don't know if you guys got that in the promotional materials. Because there are different ways to adapt a world, such as the world of Dune, right? And as you said, previous adaptations maybe went to something more fantastical, and I would say that yours feels very grounded, right? And you were talking about, faith and power, and you were talking about cultural collision. Your film, I feel, does not pull punches in exploring these themes, which are really hot button themes, And I would like to talk to you a little bit about why Dune now, if there is, it may just be the coincidences of, the conversations we're having in the zeitgeist politically seem to line up with the film that's also been made now, and sometimes that just happens. But I wonder if you have anything to say about, more directly about the cultural collision, the mixing of, power and faith that you talk about in the film, and in particular, if this makes the question more specific, your decision to world build in a way that feels so grounded and recognizable to us. You have a lot of the source material um, kind of draws from Middle Eastern mythology and spirituality. You know, we can't help but see kind of imperial powers turning up on a desert planet, trying to exploit it for, you know, natural resources, and draw parallels with what's been going on over the last 25 years. So can you talk a little bit about your decision to lean into that rather than lean into the jockstrap?
Let's face it, the jockstrap was a genius idea.
It's been done. You're not going to outdo
but
that.
it has been done.
Yeah.
But no, it's all in the book. I mean, Frank Herbert inspired himself from the main current of the 20th century, where we saw the impact of colonization in many parts of the world, and the impact of exploiting the natural resources, and the danger of blending the rise of religions in link with power. And unfortunately, he was more prophetic than I thought he was expecting to be. But when you hear about his interviews at the time, he was really foreseeing what will happen with the world in the 21st century. And I felt that those topics became just more relevant in the book. What he was talking in the book was just more present in our times, and that made the adaptation just more possible, but more reliable. And I thought that all this idea to extend the roots of each tribe, let's call them tribes or families in the book, are always inspired by different real culture. It can be Spanish culture, Scandinavian, Middle Eastern cultures, American native cultures. It's all there in the book, and I tried to be faithful to that. I wanted to bring some kind of gravitas to keep the meaning alive, the poetry alive of the book, and the weight of the book, and I wanted it to be relevant to the audience from everywhere in the world, and then keeping that kind of diversity on screen as well that was present as much as possible, and so I thought it was like perfect timing to make this adaptation, if I can say.
Yeah, beautiful. And look, it's very humble of you to put it all on the book, but I would say as a filmmaker, there is a conscious decision to lean into that and to give it that heft and to speak to a lot of what we're seeing in the world today. And I just want to say, as someone of a Muslim background, I was really moved to see this film and to see certain cultures reframed in a different light, and to reframe some of the military adventures that we've undertaken in the West in a different light. I thought that was really bold, that was really refreshing, and you didn't have to do that. And it was really fucking cool to see that on screen, so thank you.
Thank you, Rez. It really deeply moved me what you're saying, because I spent a lot of time more specifically in Jordan. I have friends there. I love this culture. I love people from there. I love it's a very rich culture, and it's a very profound, and I feel there's a wall, and I feel that it's if we were all allowed to meet and to interact, and things would be much more simple sometimes. I mean, do you understand what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely.
That the world is not driven by the fear of the other, but more by being curious about the other culture and being open and I love the idea that cinema can build bridges, and I love that instead of creating walls. That's what.
Beautiful. I feel that's what you're doing with this. I want to talk a little bit about, I'm thinking about another film right now that also takes place in the Middle East, which is Incendies. But when I think about a film like Incendies, look, all your films have such a stunning visual point of view. I think that's safe to say. But think about the intimacy of some of those films that are essentially kind of psychological dramas. And I want to ask you about how you preserve the psychological drama, the interpersonal intimacy, right? That really is the backbone of this film, amidst the 500-foot long worms and the exploding spaceships and all of that. How do you protect that in your creative process? Is there a long rehearsal process? Is it, okay, today's going to be a day where I've got 500 ADs and megaphones, and tomorrow's going to be intimate? How do you manage to preserve that human drama at the heart of this? Because that's the just really masterful balancing act that I see in this, frame by frame, is that yes, it's a visual treat, but nothing's ever gratuitous. It's all grounded in character and relationship. So how do you balance that?
Thanks. You're very generous. I will say that it's start. Of course, it's all start on the page. I mean, you have it when you write the adaptation, you have to focus on it's at the end of the day, the whole movie is structured around the love story between Paul and Shani. To Paul falling in love with a young woman with her culture, discovering her culture, being curious about her culture, finding a meaning into her culture, and wanted to learn more and become one of them, and falling as falls in love with her, he falls in love with the culture at the same time. And then their couple will have to be struggle with the pressure of the world, with the political pressure of the world, and then there will be a division in their point of view, and they will split because of political views. And through their relationship, we structured the whole drama, the whole tragedy of Paul Atreides, and that's and I kept saying to my crew, if the audience doesn't believe in their relationship, there will be no movie. And as I was shooting, I kept in mind that all the time, focusing on a daily basis about it's my job, to make sure that psychologically the movie makes sense, and that each character's journey is as clear as possible, and despite the scope, I tried to add the possibility, because those are very long shoots, and I had the chance to have the possibility, the flexibility, sometimes to even wake up in the middle of the night saying there's something missing, there's something missing, there's something missing. I need to write something new in between those two scenes in order to create a bridge to bring that home, So I did that. It was a kind of shoot where I knew that when I will land in the editing room, there will be no opportunity to go back behind the camera. I didn't want to go back. I love to hunt and I love to cook, but I don't want to go back for ingredients as I cook. I love to. Once I'm in the editing room, it's done. So in the ideal world, so I love to go. So that's what. Yeah.
I mean, did you get to rehearse at all with actors? Is that something that's important to you in your process, or
I really love to have meetings, individual meetings with the main characters to make sure that they absolutely understand that their journey is clear, that they can ask me all the questions they want. We can explore each scene together. I love them to give me frankly, their opinion about the dialogues, to see if there's all the words can come up nicely. That sometimes they have suggestions. I'm open to that. I love to do that. All that work in prep. Once we are on set, it's a very visceral moment, not intellectual for me. I love to focus on the emotions and the emotional journey of the character. So it's like I don't like to. It has to all to happen in prep. I don't rehearse a lot. It depends on the scene. I will give it an example. There's a scene with Timothy where it's a scene where he transforms himself in front of the. You guys haven't seen part 2 yet, huh?
How many people here have not actually seen part 2 at all, ever? One person, really. So.
No, but I would just say I will not give spoilers, but there's a moment where Timothy does a speech, and when he does that speech in another language, it had to be a bit rehearsed. It has to be not for Timothy, but more for me to make sure each movie, and I'm sure you experience that too as an actor, you direct too. But it's there's always one scene. If I have that scene, I have a movie, and there's a moment with Timothy like that I wanted to make sure that it was clear for him and I. So some scenes like that I rehearse, but I like to think sometimes that the first take is the rehearsal as well.
Beautiful. Is this the scene where you don't smash a dagger before battle? That one, sir.
Yes.
That one. Yeah. It's an incredible scene.
Spoilers.
It's a line. They've read the book. They've all read the book. I want to come back to how you work with particular actors as well. Obviously, as an actor myself, I'm fascinated with that and that process. And you've got such an incredible cast of rising young talent and some of my favorite established actors. But before I do that, I want to ask possibly about my favorite character I want to ask about the worm. Although there are multiple worms. Tell us how you. Apparently, there was a worm unit. Tell us about the worm unit. Making this.
For those who haven't seen the film yet, it's not. You have seen that in the trailer. There's a worm riding sequence, and it's a sequence where a character will jump into a worm and ride it. So, and it's in the book. It's vaguely described. You know, you have hints, but to read it is a thing. To see it is something else. You know, and I had to figure out the technique to imagine how I will approach this, and I storyboarded the whole sequence, of course, and it's then I had like my very first meeting was a seminar of worm riding, where I explained to the crew, the main departments, how we will approach this, how we will do this, how first it will happen in the story, and then how technically I wanted to approach this. And a lesson that something I was obsessed by in the first movie was that to bring as much nature as possible in front of the camera, to use nature as my main ally, as my main force, because the book is based on this exploration of an ecosystem, and the nature is at the heart of the book. So I thought, if I make a movie about that, I don't want to be on stage. I want to be in the real desert. I want to feel the impact of the desert on the characters and capture that on camera. So natural light. And when you do VFX, it's all about lighting. I knew that the worm riding sequence would need to happen under real sunlight, and to do so, it will require tremendous amount of technology. And I wanted to shoot as much as possible on camera. Of course, bad joke, but worms don't exist. It's like it's not something that. So we had to figure out. We created a kind of platform for that was incredible. Each shot was tremendously complex to do. I mean, sometimes a shot will take half a day, sometimes 3 days, sometimes a week to accomplish a shot. It's because each shot was experimental, and I didn't want to compromise at all. So I said to myself, it's going to take months to shoot that, because each shot was shot at the precise time of the day to have the perfect sun angle. Greg Fraser and I are compulsively obsessed, and we didn't want to compromise. So it's like each shot needed to be exactly as, and that's so. How can I do that? If I needed to, I could not shoot it in an ordinary way. I had to get out of my comfort zone and find a new way of it. It's a long answer, but it needs to be nuances.
I want to know how you made the worm, because I want to make one at home.
So, but the idea is I had to create a special unit, a unit that would specialize on the worm shooting. We called that unit the worm unit. So there was the main unit that I was directing, and there was the worm unit that was shooting a few 100 meters away from my unit. And this worm unit was dedicated exclusively to bring that sequence home. And the idea was that because regular unit, you know, the pacing is pretty fast, pretty intense, but the worm unit, because of the pacing, very slower, allowed me to direct both units. But in order to do so, I needed someone on that unit that would be my ears, my eyes, and that would convey my direction, and that will help me to direct this unit. So those were very intense shots to do. So we gave this task to one of the producer of the movie, who is also a director, and her name is Tania Lapointe, and I knew that Tania would have the patience, that she will have the skills to bring exactly, to help me to bring that to the life, because we had been working for years together, and also she happened to be my wife. So I knew that she will know my sensibility exactly. And Tania it was for me one of the most moving artistic experience of my life, to share cinema with the woman I love, and because the communication was perfect. So the shots when I was able to direct from afar, which I never was able to do. I'm very monomaniac. Again, I work with one camera at a time. It was a new experience for me.
Beautiful.
But I don't want to talk too much about the technicality of it. Why? Because some people haven't seen the movie yet, and I want them to feel the magic.
That's fair. That's fair. Well, maybe after your shout for Tanya, it's worth finishing on a question about the power of the rising feminine, which is very present in your film with Rebecca Ferguson's character and also Zendaya's character. There's so many questions I had in mind. I wanted to ask about Javier Bardem and what it's like working with him and the incredible character you created with Austin Butler, which I thought was just really characterful and impactful. But I want to just talk a little bit about that. Your film touches on these themes, as you said, on cultural identity, politics, faith, power. I want to just talk a little bit about that, if it's not too big a topic to kind of drop on you. Just the power of the rising feminine as encapsulated by Rebecca Ferguson's character and the character of Chani. And I wonder if you had anything in particular to say about what it was like working with those two phenomenal actresses. Just what that process was.
When Eric Roth, the screenwriter who was the first one who attacked started the process of the adaptation for part one. Yeah, we had a early meeting once, and he said to me, "Denis, it's a very dense book. It's very what if you had one word, a key word to open the book to help me to start the adaptation? What would it be?" And I said, "Women. The adaptation needs to be a female adaptation. It needs to be focused on the Bene Gesserit sisters. For the people who know the book, there's many factions, many school of thought in the book. It's a very dense. There's a lot of layers. There's many. I won't mention all of them, but one of them more specifically are the Bene Gesserit sisters, the sisterhood of women that control the politics from the shadows, that use time as their main weapon, and couldn't control the psyche and control the power from behind, and use religion as a form of power. It's something that I thought was very interesting, relevant, fresh, and I had not seen on screen. And so we focused the adaptation on them, which means that it brought Lady Jessica, that is a character less important in the novel, up front. And Rebecca Ferguson is an actress that has the ability to regular drama, amazing, but incredible actress that can do anything in front of a camera, but also can dive into the unconscious, that can bring ideas home, like you're being poisoned right now, and you have to save your unborn baby from your belly, and you are fighting the poison of the worm, and to bring that, it's something that she has a tremendous, beautiful imagination, and she really, without fear, will bring home things in front of the camera. She was my force during both movies, where I knew that Rebecca will be there to help me to bring that magical world on screen. As for Shani, I needed an actress that I'm sorry, I don't know if I talked about it here, but Shani is a different in the book. Also is a character that in the book embraced Paul's journey, but I needed a character that will have her own trajectory and her own political view, and that will be different. In the third act, there's a specific moment where the main point of view deviates and becomes Shani's point of view on Paul, giving us the necessary distance on Paul, to make sure that I will be able to bring Frank Herbert's idea home, meaning that Dune is a cautionary tale. It's not a celebration of a heroic figure. It's a cautionary tale about the danger of blending politics and religion, and the danger of messianic, charismatic figures, leaders. And in order to bring that to the screen, I needed Shani's character. And Zendaya, which I adore, is able to do a lot without words. And those are my favorite actors that can, just by the way they listen, the way they receive the impact on a scene on their face, you can change the perception of the perception of that scene just through her eyes. And she's an amazing actress that I'm very happy she's shown. For me, she was Shani from the start, and I'm pleased that she brought it home.
Thank you. Well, I wish we had time for more. There's so many more questions I want to ask, and I'm sure you would too. But I don't want to keep you from this second masterpiece that you're about to watch. And I hope you join me in congratulating and thanking and welcoming Denis Villeneuve.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
No, I